Good evening, good morning, whoever is in India, in US, wherever. And thanks for joining this webinar organized by Edureka, and we will be talking a little bit about the PMP exam, and we'll cover one of the basic topics. So I'm presuming that all of you are interested in sitting for the PMP exam and pass the exam, and most probably all of you are experienced in project management. So you can use this question tab to ask questions to me, and I'll try and answer those questions while I'm going through the session. So Edureka, this is a live online class, which means that it is not a recorded session. It's a session where you can interact directly with the faculty while the class is going on. The class recording is available in the LMS. So if sometimes you miss a class, next day you can actually download the LMS, the recording, and go through it. If for your reference purpose also, you'll be able to go through the recorded sessions. Edureka also has a 24/7 support where you can ask questions. You have module-wise quiz, and also there are mock tests. There is project work, and the certificate is verifiable. The objective of today's session is to understand the exam and the certification process of PMI, learn about the PMBOK guide, and understand the project life cycle and its characteristics. So PMI, or Project Management Institute, is a non-profit organization established in 1969. It's a global organization headquartered in Pennsylvania, USA, and currently it has 500,000 plus members worldwide across 171 countries, and it is actively engaged in the advocacy for the profession, setting professional standards, conducting research, and providing access to a wealth of information and resources. It also promotes career and professional development and offers certification, networking, and community involvement opportunities. We'll see how this is as we look at it. Now there are many certifications which are available from PMI, like we have the CAPM, which is the easier version of PMP. It is also based on PMBOK. Generally, people who are not eligible to sit for PMBOK exam can sit for CAPM exam. PMP, we all know, Project Management Professional. Then we have PGMP, which is Program Management Professional, which is for program managers. Then we have Agile Certified Practitioner, which is PMI ACP. We have PMI SP, which is Scheduling Professional. We have PMI RMP, which is Risk Management Professional. PFMP, which is started this year, which is Portfolio Management Professional. And very recently we have this new examination, which is Professional in Business Analysis, which is PMI BA. Now PMP, you can see that there are some other well-known credentials also, which is competing to, some people say that it is competing to PMP, which is Prince 2. Now it is not actually competing. The 2 has its own way of doing things, and I feel that it's more complementary. Similarly, in PMI PBA, currently people knows more about IIBA's CBAP, but this year PMI also started off looking at the importance of the business analysis and the role of business analysts in various projects. They have started off with the PMI PBA examination. So it is a credential which is a very important industry recognized certification for project managers, and it's globally recognized and demanded. So demonstrates that you have the experience, education, and competency to lead and direct projects. Now let us understand one thing. PMP exam is not basically to say that you learn project management. PMP exam is to specifically say or endorse that you know project management, you have experience of project management as per what is being professed by PMI through the PMBOK. So you have follow the best practices as mentioned in the PMBOK. And that's one of the reasons why project management professional, this particular PMP exam, requires you to have experience of project management before you can apply for it. If you have any questions in between, you can ask those questions in the question tab. Okay, so what does the role of a project manager include? Project manager has to manage project within the time, cost, and scope. It has to deliver the product as per the requirement of the customer. He has to communicate, and one thing we say is that 90% of the project manager's time goes in communicating to different stakeholders, motivating and facilitating the team. He has to make sure that the team is motivated enough to deliver the best quality of product and service, and facilitate the team to ensure that they are able to do their job properly and deliver. Ensuring quality management is followed. Monitoring and controlling the project execution. So like a captain of a ship, he has to monitor and control the project execution. The ship is going, but he has to see that it is going in the right direction, in the right path. And if there is any deviation, he needs to take those decisions to rectify the problem and bring it back to line, bring it back to the path. Ensuring risk management is followed and has to manage stakeholders. So this is a graph which shows the requirements of PMP across years. So you can see that it has risen from 2004 till 2014, and it is rising. Sometimes it falls and then again it picks up. But in effect, every year we see that we are growing up and up. It's not that it is reducing. So there will be more and more need for PMP certified people. This is also the salary trend, that it picked up, then sometime in 2013 it fell down because of the economic conditions across, and then again it has picked up. So future of globalization. So international network of social and economic systems. So what we'll see is that with the globalization, with the current way things are moving, with the social networking sites, with the use of social data in terms of big data, etc., we see that there will be more international network of social and economic systems. There will be new opportunities and challenges which will come up from these kind of activities that will happen. Like there will be a lot more of project which will happen on the cloud, and we will need to have more and more people to be able to manage projects on the cloud. Widely adopted standard PMBOK guide is helping the managers to speak the global project language. So because people are following one particular guideline, one best practice, then what happens is everybody speaks the same language. So people anywhere in the world can be part of the same project and can understand what each another is saying. So it is very important, because today a person who is, it is not restricted to a person to be physically in a particular place. People from different places are managing teams where the team is spread across various geographical locations, and still each one understands what each one is looking for. That is because of adoption of certain best practices and guidelines. So what are the prerequisites? Now, the first is high school diploma, associate degree, or global equivalent. Now, this is for people who are not graduated, but for our Indian context, we find most of the people are graduate, so we will look into the second one. Now, in case of the first one, you need 7,500 hours of project management experience over a period of 5 years. Whereas if you are a graduate, then you need 4,500 hours of project experience over the period of 3 years. Over a period of last 5 years. Now, when we say project management experience, PMI is looking for the experience, not for the designation. You can have a designation of project manager, you can have a designation of program manager, you can have a designation of consultant, you can have a designation of senior manager, whatever the designation is, it doesn't matter. The main thing is that you have to have experience of working as a project manager or doing project management activities as understood by PMI to be qualified for this. We will talk about this a little bit more once we get into the form, how to fill up and how to do it. Project duration must not overlap. What it means is, suppose a person is working on multiple projects, let's say 2 projects, from the period 1st of September to 30th of September. Now, when you are filling up the application form, you cannot say that you have spent the full 22 days into 8 hours, that is 176 hours for September in project A, as well as 176 hours in project B. That will be basically a double counting. So you have to give only how many hours you have spent in each project in the respective project management related role. So if you have spent, let's say, 10 days in a project and another 12 days in another project, so you will give 80 hours in one project, and you will give the another 96 hours in another project. Now there is a question, what if someone doesn't have project management experience but have experience of 13 years, then can that person do PMP? The application form requires you to fill up project management experience. So if you are doing only coding or only development activity where there is, or support activity where there is no project management activities, you cannot be sitting for the project PMP exam. The reason is that, as I said, the certification endorses that you practice project management as professed by PMI. If you are not an experienced person, anyway, this certification is not for you. In that case, you can go for CAPM. Okay, there is one more question. Whether non-IT project management will be counted. Definitely non-IT project management is counted. PMP is not for IT project management. PMP is for project management. It can be IT, it can be non-IT. And as PMI says that a project manager, if he is doing project management activity, the activity is same for any type of projects. So a person who can manage a IT project can also manage a project of building a dam. So, and honestly, from my own experience, I'm originally from the IT background, but now I do consulting and training for both IT and non-IT project management. And I set up PMOs and all for both IT and non-IT project management. There is another question. I'm working in procurement in various roles of new product development and now joined another organization for last 2 to 3 years where my role is that of supply chain management. How to document this experience and what they will require for verification of this. Okay, let's hold this for some time. We will talk about exactly what the different kind of activities that are there. So first of all, you have to be graduate, and with graduation you have to have 4,500 hours of project management role. We will explain what those roles are. Examination pattern. So it is a computer-based examination. It has to be done at the Prometric Center near your place. There is also a paper-based examination available, but that is now available only for places where there is no Prometric Center nearby. Okay, there is a question. Unless we have the certification, how can we be managing a project as it's mandatory for getting promoted to the next level? Okay, again, the role is project management. It does not need the certification, number one. Number two, you don't need to be promoted to be a project manager to start working as project manager. Rather, it's the other way around. You have to start doing project management activity, and once you have demonstrated capability, actually you should be promoted to a project manager. The senior manager needs to understand that yes, you can take up those responsibilities, then only they will promote. Is it okay if someone works as a facilitator for project management training? Facilitator for project management training. See, project management training can be also taken as a project, but what exactly you are working, what is your role needs to be understood before I can answer this question. So people who have specific questions like this needs to send it to Edureka, and then they can give the answers. One more question. There are 3 years. Should last continuous, or it can be from any duration of our career. It's not any duration over the period of last 5 years. So 4,500 hours is as good as around 3 years, so you have to be 3 years as doing project management work over a period of 5 years, not all through your life. I work as a senior developer even though I don't have official PM role, but I manage a lot of PM tasks. How can I get my PM experience? Do I have to get experience letter from company? I will talk about it, what is required, but yes, you can still sit for the PM exam, PMP exam. Okay, so it is a multi-choice question, 200 multiple choice question. The total time frame for this examination is 4 hours, but it is actually not 4 hours. It is actually 4.5 hours, because when you sit for the exam, the first 15 minutes you will go through a training session which talks about how you should go through your exam, and after you complete there is another survey which also takes a maximum of 15 minutes. So 15 minutes plus 15 minutes, 4.5 hours is the maximum time that it will take. During the examination you can go out for water or to eat something or go to the toilet, but the clock will keep on ticking. That means that the clock will not stop. Whatever time you are outside is the time you are losing. So try and be there, get used to. That's why you need to do a lot of mock tests so that your body is also tuned to sit and concentrate for 4 hours. It has 200 questions, and of those 200 questions, 175 questions are marked. 25 questions are basically for finding out different parameters which they keep doing during the exams for betterment of the exam. Now, but as far as a candidate is concerned, you will never know that which questions are marked and which questions are not marked. So as far as you are concerned, all the 200 questions you have to answer in that 4 hours. There is no negative marking, and the examination is developed by a group of individuals from around the globe. There are psychometric experts, etc. So all these together, this exam has been created. Various PMPs from various parts of the world, they all contribute towards this. Now after clearing the exam, you will receive the PMP certificate by mail within 2 months. But as soon as you clear, at that point of time itself, you will get your pass marks. It is not the marks that you will get. In the various areas, it will say whether you are proficient or not. Yes, Edureka provides mock questions. Can we trust on mock papers to clear exam? It's just not the mock papers which you can just trust. You have to know, you have to have the knowledge which you will get during this 35 hours of training. So if you look at it in the previous slide, what we saw is that we have to have the experience as well as we have to have 35 contact hours. Now this PMP preparatory course is the 35 hours of contact hours, which gives you 35 PDUs. 35 hours is just to tell you about the complete PMBOK topics. It is not sufficient for the preparation. I will talk about preparation. As far as percentage is concerned, there is no passing percentage which is declared by PMI because there is weightage to each of the questions, and there is a specific intelligent algorithm which it uses to say whether you are proficient or not. So now you cannot say that whether it's a pass mark or not, but roughly people might take it as around 70% to be the pass mark, but that's what it used to be earlier, but now they have changed the pattern and there is no marks that is declared. So when you get your mark sheet saying that you have passed, it will not say that how many percentage you have got. It will say in the different areas whether you are proficient or not proficient. Now there are 5 process groups as defined by the PMI, which is initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and control, and closing. So any project will have these 5 process groups as they are called, and 13% of questions comes from initiation, 24% from planning, 30% from execution, 25% from monitoring and control, and 8% from closing. There is a question, are the questions of same weightage? No, it is not of the same weightage. So when we are talking about the experience, what it means is you should have experience in any one or more than one of these process groups. You should be having experience. So if you are looking at initiation, you should be a person who have been doing making project charter, or who is if you are in the planning stage, you are the person who is creating the project schedule, who is monitoring the project schedule. It is not that somebody has done a schedule and you have come and put it in a MS project or something. You should be analyzing the requirement and developing the project schedule. You should be planning how each activity is being done. So maybe you have, if you are a business analyst kind of a person, if you have gone for requirement analysis and all, if you have planned how you will conduct the overall requirements gathering and scope definitions and finalizing on the scope, in that case you have done activities in planning. If you have planned in quality, yes, that is also a planning activity. So any of the areas in terms of whether time, scope, cost, quality, procurement, HR, for any of the areas, knowledge areas as it is called, if you have done the planning, where you create the plan how it will be executed, then you have done planning work. Execution means where you have executed the project. That does not mean, say, in case of a IT project, if it is a software development, if you are writing programs, then it is not a execution. If you are testing the program, it is not execution. Here we are talking about execution of project management, which means that you are going to your team and you are getting information from them, you are resolving conflicts, or you are resolving issues, you are monitoring their progress. If there is any issue, you are allocating or reallocating resources. All those kind of activities are your execution, things that a project manager does while executing a project. Monitoring and control is when you are collecting the progress. Once you have created the schedule, you are collecting the progress of the team members, and then you are analyzing and you are seeing if there is a variance. If it is only not up to this, because a lot of people, what they do is they collect information from the various team members, put it in an Excel sheet or MS project or something, and generates a report of variance. Not only that, you have to analyze and should be taking decisions as to how to take corrective action. Then you are monitoring and control. And finally, closing means where you are specifically sitting with the team to do closure activities, like releasing the resources, like documenting the lessons learned, like signing off on all the contracts, like getting acceptance and approval from the customer. All these are closing activities. Now in any of these 5 areas, in one or more than one of these areas, you should have total 4,500 hours of experience. One question, are these scenario based? Yes, these questions are all scenario based. This is a Bloom level 6 exam, and Bloom level 6 exam is basically about trying to understand. What they are trying to check is that you understand the concept, you understand the requirement, and based on that you are able to analyze the scenario and find out what is the best area of knowledge that you need to apply, and you should be able to apply that. So that is the kind of questions that you will get. Okay, somebody wants the closing domain. So closing domain, the activities are that it can be a phase or a project closure, and phase or project closure happens when it happens. The activities that is there is, one, you have to make sure that as a project manager you have got all the approvals and sign-offs from your customer. Number two, you have to sit with all the stakeholders and document the lessons learned. Number three, if you have outsourced your project or part of your project to somebody else, like you have taken help of a consultant from outside in your project, then you as a project manager has to authorize all the work that they have done to the extent which is properly done, and you have to close the contract for them so that your vendors are able to get their payments. So that is closing. Yes, 4,500 hours of experience one should have, can be minimum of one of these areas or more than one of these areas. If you are asking about any of the domains, these are called process groups. So we'll use the term process group. Yes, it can be in one process group, like you are doing planning for everything. 4,500 hours of planning, yes, that is possible. Or you can have 2,000 hours of planning, another 1,500 hours of execution, another say 300 hours of monitoring and control. Like this you can have. Differ from what PMBOK says. What does PMBOK say? What is the difference? PMBOK does not talk about eligibility of you. PMBOK talks about what the processes are, what the process groups are, and what the knowledge areas are. And every project passes through all these 5 process groups and all the 10, but not all the 10 knowledge areas, but some or all of the knowledge areas. If you want to see what is your eligibility for a PMP exam, you have to look at a PMP handbook, not PMBOK. PMBOK never says that you have to have knowledge in all the 4. PMBOK says you as a project manager, when you are executing the project end to end, you should be following or you should be going through all the 5 process groups. The two concepts are different. There is the practice, what you should follow as a project manager in each of the process groups. And any project will go through all these 5 process groups. But as far as eligibility is concerned, PMI is flexible enough to accept even experience in one process group. But generally, if you are a project manager who actually has worked for 3 years in projects, no one really does work in only one area, unless it's a very specialized kind of a project or specialized kind of a role. PMP examination, but before going into the examination fees, let me say that for PMP, you can become a PMI member without being a PMP also. So you can be a PMI member even today. Number 2, as it is not mandatory for you to be a PMI member to sit for the exam. But from experience, I would suggest that you should be a PMI member first. The reasons is that if you look at it, PMI membership fee is $139, and you will need another $10 to be enrolled for the first time, and there will be another $10 to $20 depending on where you are and which chapter you want to associate with. Again, that is not mandatory, but it is good to be associated with the chapter. it will be another $10 to $20. So looking at it, it will be around $159 to $169. Now you are paying that for this year, but the advantage that you are getting is, first of all, if you see the fee is $405 as opposed to $555. So $150 is already adjusted here. So $405. Now number two, leaving aside the money part of it, what is more important is that you need to have PMBOK, the latest version. If you are a member of PMI, you will get your copy of the PMBOK, which can be downloaded from the site of PMI if you are a member. If you have to buy that outside, I think it costs nearly around $100. So that anyway you have to, because that is one of the main reading materials that you have to go through. Re-examination costs $275 as opposed to $375 for non-members. Number 4, there is a lot of other facilities which PMI gives. Like you can download templates from them for your use in your workplace. A lot of other materials is accessible to you. Like PMBOK, you can also have the standard for the program management and portfolio management also freely accessible to you. There are a lot of other opportunities which is like volunteering. Now you have to understand that this particular exam, you can first of all give you can reattempt 3 times in a year by paying the fees, obviously. But once you pass, the certificate is valid for 3 years. At the end of 3 years, you have to you have to continue the certification. And for continuing the certification, what you need is, you need to collect 60 PDUs. Now, out of these 60 PDUs, you will be getting 5 PDUs per year. You can claim 5 PDUs per year. That means 15 PDUs over the period of 3 years, because you are a practicing project manager. But other 45 PDUs you have to get. Now getting this 45 PDUs you can get by attending courses which gives you which says that you are which has project management relation. And number 3 is you can go and volunteer. Now PMI chapters, if you are associated with, will give you a lot of those opportunities to volunteer. Say for example, I was one of the reviewers of the project, the papers which was submitted for the PMI India conference. Now that gave me some PDUs. So when you volunteer, there are various activities which keeps happening. Like Bangalore chapter has their own activities, Chennai chapter has their own, Hyderabad chapter has their own. So whichever chapter, New Delhi chapter has its own, that is North India. So each one has its own activities which you can participate. You can visit and join the PMI conferences or any of those events. And everywhere you will see that members has a reduced price than the normal people. And you can avail of those and get those PDUs, because you need to get the 60 PDUs and then you have to pay a small fees at the end of those 3 years, before the end of the 3 years, to continue certification. If you fail to recertify or continue, if you fail to continue certification, if it is lapsed, then when you want again, you have to sit for the exam, which no one of us want to do that. Hence, membership is a better option to go for. Now this slide will answer you the question which was asked some time back as to whether the PMP examination, how much time does it require to prepare? For me, you should plan for 6 to 8 weeks from the day you finish your course. What happens is, if it is more than that, you will forget about it and you will get more drawn into your own projects which you will do every day. So you have to be determined and you should be ready to spend time during this 6 to 8 weeks. The amount of time that you have to spend per day is 2 hours per day at least, and on the weekdays, that is Saturdays and Sundays, you have to spend 4 hours per day. So those are the days which you will use to do mock tests. Now the way that you will do is, you will go through the PMBOK once, then you will go through the slides, you do a practice exam, you read the PMBOK in details now, you do a practice exam, then you go through the class sessions to clarify all those that you have some issues with when you are doing the practice exam or the mock exam. So make sure, so once you go through these class sessions, you do again a practice exam, read the PMBOK again, but this time you go through the PMBOK only the areas which you are finding it difficult. Do a practice exam, and on the previous day before the exam, read the PMBOK, light reading, and you give the exam. Question, which slides? The slides that you will see when you are going through that PMP preparatory course, the 35 PDU course. Okay. Any questions so far on the PMP exam itself? Because now we will go into looking at some basic concepts. Okay, there is a question, PMBOK has how many pages? PMBOK has nearly around 500 pages, and you not only need to look at the PMBOK's main content, you should also go through the glossaries and appendix, because there are certain terminologies which are explained in the glossary which is not there in the main body of the book. So you have to read the whole thing. Now PMBOK guide is basically a best practice guide. It is not a standard. It is not ISO 9000 kind of a standard which is mandatory to be followed. But it's a best practice which has been compiled based on thousands of projects which are being performed, both IT and non-IT together, to arrive at the best practice. Now it has 3 sections. The first section is the project management framework, which is talking about the basic concepts and about the organizational influence and project life cycles and certain basic concepts. Then the second part is the standard for project management of a project, which is talking about the PM process group, the 5 process groups of project management, which is initiation, planning. You have to initiate the project, then you have to plan how to execute the project, then you execute the project, then you monitor and control for everything, and finally you will close the project. Across these 5 process groups, you have 10 knowledge areas. So there will be 47 processes across these 5 process groups. which we will see when we look into the third part, which is the project management knowledge areas. So there are 10 distinctive knowledge areas which we will see that we have to go through. So this is how the breakup is given, and when we go into the knowledge area, we will see these 47 processes, and for each of the process what we will see is, we will see the inputs to that process, what is the tools and techniques for each of those processes, and third is what are the outputs of that processes, and you have to remember those because there's a lot of question which comes from there. There is again another question that if you are eligible for PMP, if you are not into project management and have 10 to 12 years in corporate and marketing communication. As I said, if you can explain that it is a project and the project, in the project you have done project management related roles as I have explained in the process groups, in that case yes, you will be eligible. But if you cannot, if it is not related to process project management process groups at all, which is completely pure marketing and communication kind of role, then it is difficult to convince. Now what we will do is, we will go through the application form a bit to explain to you how it is. So here, if you are a PMI member, you will have to give the PMI member ID. This is a PDF form, but you have to fill it up in the online itself. This helps you in your to understand what all you have to fill. So you can download something like this and you can fill it up by pencil, and then once you are satisfied, then put it in the online. So here is your name and all those things. Section 2 is so name of the correspondence means this is how your name will be on all your documents that will be sent from PMI. The next one is name as of any government identification document. So passport or something, however the name is, you will put here if it is different from the previous one. And third is, what is the name that you want to put on the PMP certificate. Then you have the preferred mailing address, which can be your office address or home address. You have to give both home address and office address. And preferred email, personal email, all these email details, contact details is there. Then there is some survey related questions as to which primary industry, what education you have attained. Now this education is important because you have to say bachelor's degree or global equivalent or doctoral or any of these. So if you are not putting a bachelor's or higher degree, bachelor's, master's or doctoral, then you will have to prove 7,500 hours and not 4,500 hours. So this is important and should be properly filled. And here you have to give your highest diploma or degree, whichever you have got. Your field of study. Now you come to this form where for each project you have to fill up. So you have to give the name of the project, the start date of the project, the end date of the project. It is not the start date and end date of the project. It is the start date and end date of the work that you have done in that project. What is the role you have handled? Again, role means what role from the point of view of role, not in terms of designation. You can be a senior developer by designation, but you have filled up the role of a project manager. So you say project manager or you say business analyst, whatever. Project industry, which area the project was, IT, non-IT, construction, etc. What was your job title? This is your designation. Which is the organization name, organization address, city, country, state, province, all those details. And you have to give a primary contact name and contact details of a person because 20% of the all applications that goes throughout the world, 20% of them are randomly selected for review. Others are not selected for review. If you are selected for review, then they will send you back a mail immediately saying that yours has been chosen for review and you have to fill up and submit the documents for verification. And these documents, whatever they will ask for, are actually cannot be online scanned and sent. It has to be physically couriered to their office. So that is something which happens. Till now I have seen only 2 people in my batches who has got verification. Otherwise they don't. And what they will do is they will actually talk to these people to say that whatever you have done, whether that is where they have to vouch for it, saying that yes, you have done whatever has been written. So in practice, what you should do is whoever's name you are giving, you should let them know as to exactly what you have written and filled up the form as experience in that, so that they can come back and answer correctly. Now you have the space where you have to say how many hours in each of the process groups, and on the right hand side is the place where you have to actually say or define what work you have done to justify that you have done a initiating the project work, or planning the project work, or executing the project work, or controlling the project work, or closing the project work. So whichever area you have worked in that particular project, the details has to be filled in. Now this has to be filled in for all the projects that makes up the total 4,500 hours. There's a question, if I have helped in project management or building a call center, can I put that? What exactly you have done, what was your role and accountability, that is the responsibility, that is what I need to see before I can say whether that specific activity can be taken up or not. But as a general concept, yes, if you have been part of a project management of building a call center, yes, that is also a valid project. So then the total will come and the total hours of the project will be there. Other than that, you have, see, Edureka is a REP or Registered Education Provider. So you will choose category A, and when you choose category A, you have to choose the REP ID. The REP ID is going to be there. It was there also in the first screen when we saw that. I'll just show you. See, here is the REP ID. So once you choose the REP ID, you will be able to see the course name, which will come in a drop down, and you can select from the drop down, and you will be able to claim the 35 PDUs for that. So PMI chapter meetings and self-study, it does not qualify for this. You have to go through a training either done by REP or by any other organization who is conducting it as a PMP, or your employer or company sponsored programs, any or distance learning companies, or university or college academics. So any of these are valid, not PMI chapter meeting or self-study. And here you actually give all the details of the course. Why there is multiple? Because sometimes you may have smaller project management related course, not this specific course, and all those together add up to 35 PDUs. and then you have some standard informations which needs to be filled up, and then you have to choose the language. You have to say I have read and understand all the policies, certification handbook, and there is something called PMI Code of Ethics. You should actually click and download this. The basic requirement is you should be downloading and reading it and then signing on it and keeping it with you. PMI believes on you and trusts project managers, so they feel that you have read and you will follow the code of ethics and professional conduct, so you are supposed to sign it and keep it with you. All these have to be checked, and once you have checked, you will go into the payment. Now when you go into the payment using credit card, you have to pay the required fees. Once you pay the required fees, then it will accept your application, and it will send you a mail saying that they have received your application. Now once your application is validated, and they will send you another mail which is the approval letter, or otherwise they will send you the letter, as I said, saying that yours has been chosen for review. Now once your approval letter comes, the approval letter will also have a link which will be for your Prometric Center. So now what you do is you have to take a printout of this approval letter. You have to click on the link. You have to organize, or you have to take the link to find out which date you have a exam slot available, because generally in each of the city there is only one Prometric Center, and they not only do project management PMP course, they have multiple things. Now multiple courses they test, so they are always busy. Generally you take around 15 to 30 days for getting a slot for exam. So you have to choose the slot and book the slot. That approval letter as well as the site will also tell you how to cancel or change the booking of the slot. Now once that slot is done, on the exam day, I would suggest that you should go previously once, see where the place is, look at the place and come back. On the day of the exam, go there in advance. You have to take 2 government photo ID cards, preferably to both are government, like passport and maybe PAN card. You have to take this letter, and you cannot take anything else inside the exam room. If you take a mobile, a watch, whatever it is, all those has to be kept in the locker outside. And then they will give you from papers, a board, pencil, eraser and sharpener, and you will be able to go in, and you will be able to sit for the exam. The whole time you are being under CCTV, and which is recorded. So you go through the examination. Once the examination is over, you submit and you get your result immediately, and they will sign and stamp and print and give it to you, saying that whether you have passed, not passed is mentioned there, and the proficiency. And as I said, if you have passed, within 2 months your PMI certificate will come from PMI directly with a welcome kit directly to the address that you have mentioned in your application form. What is the extra charge taken for dollar payment? Yes, you can use any of these international cards, credit cards that are available, which you have, and you can pay. It is like buying anything on eBay or something, or any other site, Amazon or something. It's the same thing. The only thing is this is a dollar payment, and the dollar will be charged as per the that day's rate that the bank is charging. So it is up to the bank and from where the credit card is being done. So there is no specific additional charge as such, but the rates vary as to what will be the rate per dollar in terms of Indian rupees that you will have to finally pay for or repay. Okay. Now, couple of general concepts, like you will be able to understand what PMBOK is talking about. Like a project, the definition is a project is a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product, service or result. What it means is, for a project to be project, it should be temporary endeavor. That means that it should have a start date and a fixed end date. That means that, say you have to do a software implementation. It means you will start on a particular date and you will end on a particular date, as opposed to supporting a software application for over the year or more than 1 year. That is operations. But for project to be project, it has to have a start date and an end date. And it should create a unique product, like a specific customized software for the client, or a specific implementation of an ERP for a client. All these has to be unique. Either it is a product or it can be a service, like this training is a service, or result, like sometimes we do feasibility studies and we generate only a feasibility report. That feasibility report is a result. So it is not a service, it is not a product, it is termed as a result. So anything that will create a unique product, service or result and has a definite start and end date is termed as a project. There is a question if PMP membership fee is paid and after 6 months PMP exam fee is paid. If membership ends, are we still eligible to give exam? The membership has nothing to do with the exam fee. You are eligible to give the exam only when you pay the exam fees and your application is approved and you get the approval mail. That approval mail or approval letter is what allows you for membership for exam. Now when you get the approval mail, that approval mail or letter is valid for 1 year from the date of the letter itself. So within 1 year you can sit for the exam. Now whether you are a member or continuing member or not member doesn't matter. But for you to, when you are filling up the application form and making the payment, at that point of time you should be a valid member to avail of the membership rate. So instead of $555, if they will charge you $405 if you are a member, active member. If you are not an active member, they will charge you $555. So it has a unique output, it is a temporary endeavor and it has progressive elaboration. Means that at the beginning of the project we don't know everything in details. So, so what we do is we plan for some of the activities till the time we know. So for example, we can plan for the requirements gathering based on whatever our understanding is. But once we do the requirements gathering in details, then only we can plan in details for the design and down the line. So that is called progressive elaboration. So it's an iterative process. Examples of project: developing a new product, putting into effect a change in the structure, which is like a business process reengineering project, developing or acquiring a new modified information system, that means the new ERP or something getting implemented, conducting a research effort, so like a drug discovery for a pharma company is a project, constructing a building, an industrial plant, or any infrastructure like road, dam, whatever, is a project. Implementing, improving or enhancing existing business process improvement kind of projects, those are also projects. Actually in our daily life, when we plan, our kids' birthday celebration, that's a project. We plan and we execute. Event for annual award ceremony of your organization. That is also a project. Does managing the production support qualify as a project, considering that it is the nature of ongoing project? Production support, managing production support by itself is not a project. Production support itself is an ongoing activity which is operations. However, in support activity also there is one phase which is a project, and that phase is the transition. So whenever you are taking handover or when you are handing it over to another party or to the client or from the client or from another party, that transition part you manage it as a project because it has a fixed start and fixed end and it creates a unique product or service. So that part is project management, whereas the continuous activity is not project management. During continuous activity, if there are certain things like, let's say there is a new change request which needs to be worked on, and the change request is of substantial nature, which has to be properly planned and executed as an independent activity. Now that becomes a project management for that project. So we also need to understand that there are two life cycles that a project manager manages. One is the project life cycle, that is from when the project starts till the end when the product is delivered. So a software is delivered for a software implementation project. Whereas there is also a product life cycle. So your product is your software. Now it starts from the time when the project has started, but it ends not with the implementation of the product, but when, let's say you have done a financial accounting package and the life of the financial accounting product will end when the company stops using that financial accounting package that you have developed, maybe after 5 years, after 10 years, whatever it is. So there is a product life cycle and a project life cycle which needs to be controlled and monitored. So project manager manages up to the project life cycle, not the product life cycle, because product life cycle after that is managed by the operations. We also see the life cycles of any project. Now these life cycles differ from project to project based on the type of project. So here we can see there is a feasibility analysis, design, implementation for a software project, but it can be different and can be something like design, then you have planning, then you have excavation, foundation creation, then you have construction, you have plumbing, you have electricals, all these you have for any construction project. So these life cycles vary depending on the type of project it is. And what we see in the life cycle is, at the beginning of the life cycle there is less resources used and the cost is less. But as we go to execution, we will see that at the execution stage there is maximum number of people, maximum cost is incurred at that stage. And then as the project comes to closure, again the number of resources reduced till all the resources are released from the project and the cost also comes down to zero. What we see is that at the beginning of the project the cost is low, and as the project goes on the cost starts increasing and ends at a high and the maximum cost. Now here what it says is this is the cost of changes. So if any change is required at the beginning of the project, it is easier to make the change and little effort is required as compared to as the time passes towards the end. Maybe at the UAT you find some major mistakes, then if you have to change, you have to change starting from your requirements to up to the UAT again. So there is a huge amount of cost. So cost of change at the beginning phases is less. As it goes into the project, increases, whereas the stakeholder influence, the stakeholder involvement, risk and uncertainty are higher at the beginning. As the project goes, all these starts decreasing because you have less stakeholder influence. In the beginning, we get to talk to them to understand the requirement, but after that it is our work where we do the development, etc. So it reduces. Again, they come back a little bit for the UAT and then it's over. Risk, if in the beginning we don't know much, so the risk is much higher. As we get into the project, we go through the requirements, the design, we know more and more details of the project and we are able to understand the project much better. So the risk also is, and uncertainty is much less. We have 4 releases in each year. Each release will have requirement phase, execution and delivering the code. Can this be considered as a PM experience? It can be, it is an enhancement project. Generally, enhancement projects can be taken as a project. Now you have to only give me more details to be able to talk about it. So as I said, all these specific questions, if you pass it on to Edureka, they can send it and I can reply to that. The point is, you have to clearly state that what exactly are the activities you are doing, how is this considered in your organization as a project, whether there is a start date, whether there is a definite end date for each of those enhancements. So, and what are the phases of each. So you have to mention those, and if you send it, I will be able to say whether that experience counts or not. So the course, the PMP course has 13 modules. The first is introduction, then the project management framework, the processes, integration management, then we come to the knowledge areas. So we talk about the 10 knowledge areas: integration management, scope management, time management, cost management, quality management, human resource management, project communication management, risk management, procurement management, and stakeholder management. So these are all the topics that is covered in this course, and once you do it, you complete the complete PMBOK. So it is easier for you then to read through it and be able to understand what is mentioned there. So any other question? So if there is no other questions, we will close today's session, and thanks for joining us, and hope to see you in the batches. When will be the next course? You have to ask Edureka or go to their site to see when the next course is available. Oh, same as today's one? You have to ask Edureka. I won't be able to say when it is. Thanks everyone. So we will close now.